Well, and Christ talks about fasting. Like, he talks about prayer and fasting.
Well, Christ talks about it, and it's something so cool, and I love how you brought it up about the whole thing of, like, you saw what your brother had, and you're like, that's okay, I don't need this right now, and it was that whole thing.
Right.
We were talking about it earlier. It's like, within, I think it's the book of Matthew, I can't remember right now, I don't want to look it up on my phone, but Christ talks about how, it was disciples of John basically went to him and were like, why do we fast? Why do ourselves as John's disciples, and also why do the different Jewish priests, like, why do they go fast?
I have it right here. So it says,
why do the Pharisees fast?
This is from the English Standard Version. So then the disciples of John came to him, saying, "Why do we and the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast?" And Jesus said to them, "Can the wedding guests mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? The days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and then they will fast." Basically saying when Jesus has gone and ascended to the Father, that will be the time that his disciples will fast, including ourselves.
But it's something so very real, like I think, and it's something very, in that moment, you think of, I love looking at everything within it, and we talk about, oh my gosh, we need to fast, we need to go ahead and not eat as much, or we need to do this, or we need to do that.
Yeah.
And then you look at the Bible, a lot of people look at that and be like, the disciples didn't do that. Like, literally, each and every time they were hanging out with Jesus, no matter where they're at, they were eating and drinking everywhere they went. You guys watch The Chosen. Every episode, there's food involved. No matter where they're at.
So the greatest celebration.
It was a great
Jewish
celebration,
church,
always.
Tradition.
The thing was that they were surrounded by Christ. There was no separation between them. And the thing is what Jesus is talking about is like, there wasn't a need in that moment of them to fast, because the whole point of fasting, and we're gonna, words. I think we dive into that maybe,
and so to go out here
Then I lost.
To your point, when Jesus was there, when Jesus was present, even as he says, there was no need for them to fast at that moment. However, we see Jesus fasting in the desert for 40 days, right?
Correct.
We also see when Jesus is gone and has ascended, in the book of Acts, you see the disciples fasting. It talks about them fasting a lot in the book of Acts.
But again, with them, they were not in that moment. For them, it's Jesus ascended.
Right,
They were no longer near the physical presence of Christ.
Right.
And they also had to go ahead. It's, again, the whole point of fasting is not to go ahead and make yourself better. It's to purge yourself of things that are not
to purify yourself.
To purify. We did the refiner's fire. The whole point is to go ahead and make ourselves as pure as possible to be before Christ. And in that moment, you're surrounded by Christ. You're hearing his words. I wasn't around with them, but I can't imagine that they were like, you know what, that's great, but I'm going to walk on over here and do something else, like I'm going to go and do that, I'm going to go do that. And they just realized I need to go ahead and do this. And Jesus, when we look at Jesus fasting in the desert as well, it wasn't Jesus was impure. Okay. But he also wanted to, he needed to prepare, and he also wanted to show us this is what it means.
I'll never be alone, I'm with you. You're closer to my heart than I knew.